Carb cravings, why do we get them and what can we do about them? Listen in as I chat with Catherine Fink-Martinez. Enjoy the video. This is Neily on Nutrition. I'm with Catherine Fink-Martinez, and she specializes in the emotional aspects of eating. And we're talking about carbohydrate cravings and, where do they start? I remember, growing up, we get a little boo-boo or we had a bad day at school and we get comforted. And do we get comforted with, a salad or a piece of broccoli or a piece of kale? No, it's something sweet, which are always, carbohydrates. And it probably starts even before that, probably with, maybe mother's breast milk with lactose, which is a sugar. So it probably starts pretty early. And would you say that? What do you think? What's going on? Why do we have such, especially women, the carbohydrate cravings that we do?
Well, it really is a connection to kind of food and also the emotion with the food. So think about your first emotional connection. It was when you were crying, you would get either the bottle or the breast. And so sometimes it's just the emotions and the feel good, but there's also a food component to it. So carbohydrates do help to fuel our muscles, they help to fuel our brain, and they help us to feel better. Mm-hmm. So it really, kind of just helps us be more energetic, more clear. And so that did start kind of at an early age, both from the emotional aspect and how it makes us feel uncomforted. So you have that boo-boo, Mm-hmm. Yes, mom doesn't normally think about broccoli because broccoli's not like readily available typically. Yeah. Somebody's upset, let's grab something that's quickly available. How about a popsicle? We can just pull it out and go, oh, honey, and things are better. So was it the popsicle or was the, oh, honey?
That was, So then what happens?
Well, so there's a lot of different reasons why people crave carbohydrates or feel out of control about carbohydrates. Yeah. Sometimes it's more what it's like.
I get that a lot from the women that I work with over the years.
Right. Well, a lot of times it's how we think about food. So we hear a lot in media about good carbs, bad carbs, and kind of we get this mixed message of what's good for us, what's bad for us. And, so first of all, when we label things, good or bad, first of all, there are no good or bad foods. Mm-hmm. So, but when we think something's bad, then we tend to want it even more. Right. And typically the foods that are higher in carbohydrates are very convenient. And, in a time crunch society, we go for a lot of convenience. And then if we are thinking and feeling guilty or bad because we've labeled a food and we've eaten it, then the next day, sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm going to start fresh and I'm going to do better, or I need to restrict to kind of make up for last night. And what that does is it sets it on a cycle of skipping meals, so it sets us up physiologically for being real hungry later on. And when we're really hungry, we're not thinking rationally, and we're not thinking I want broccoli, right? We're not thinking I want something. We're going quick and we want fast and we want something we don't have to take the time to do. And so often that's higher carbohydrate food. And on top of that, physiologically what happens is we release some insulin. So there's some carbohydrate, glucose, and insulin. Mm-hmm. And when it's typically just those foods and it's not more of a balanced diet, which includes more protein and fat, right, those help to balance it out. So it helps to level out what's happening in our body and to stay with us longer. So often it's the imbalance that's the challenge, not necessarily the food itself.
Mm-hmm. So fueling ourselves, in the morning, having a good solid breakfast with protein, mm-hmm, and which will help balance out the blood sugar and glucose control. Mm-hmm. Will help set us up for success for later on. So we don't have those cravings.
So having more of a balanced plan, having that protein, having the fats, also eating regularly. So not going too long in between eating is really kind of key, and it really sets up kind of the body mechanism so we're not feeling those cravings. And protein really does give us that satisfaction. Mm-hmm. It is the macronutrient that is a lot more satisfying, as well as fat. It provides that satisfaction also.
Mm-hmm. So the key then, bottom line, to helping prevent those those cravings, those mm-hmm, uncontrolled cravings, what would you say?
Physiologically, key is to not go too long in between eating.
Okay.
Make sure that you're getting a balanced meal plan that includes high fiber carbohydrates, that also includes carbohydrates that you enjoy, mm-hmm, making sure that you have protein, mm-hmm, and also fats.
Okay, great, good deal. Thanks, Catherine. Catherine Fink-Martinez, confidenceineating.com is her website. Is that recording?
I don't.
should be a square, not a round thing.
17.
Right.
I know, but I said it's red, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, not square or round.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, it's recording. I was like trying to see.